Ho, ho, ho! Merry Kino! That's right, everybody. It's the Is It Kino Christmas Special, a very special Christmas movie with a very special Christmas guest. I'm your host, Monkey Claus, joined as always by the Florian who stole Christmas.
That's right, I am the Grinch Squid, and I've actually stolen Christmas. I've stolen all your presents, and the only thing I couldn't steal was this amazing movie called Fatman.
And it would not be Christmas morning without a cup full of eggnog, so we have Mr. Eggy Eggington.
Why, yes, it is I, and I tell you, I am just so filled with the Christmas spirit. I'm so jolly. I'm jolly and fat, just like the Fat Man, and that's why I had to come by and check out this fantastic movie, Fatman.
Well, let's dive right into it. There's a new Christmas movie starring Mel Gibson as a grizzled, edgy Santa Claus with he's got some gun skill and all these things. And I thought, hey, that would be the ultimate Christmas movie for an Is It Kino Christmas special. So let's dive right in. Eggy, what did you think of Fatman, rated R?
Well, I thought it was a real good movie. It was definitely very different from any other Christmas movie I think I've ever seen. It was very, very unique in many aspects, and in fact, there was one particular aspect of the uniqueness that sort of caught my attention, and it was the fact that Mel Gibson playing Mr. Kris Kringle has this beautiful, classy, lovely wife who is British and also black. Which is a little different from, so, and of course,
pretty hot combo.
Being unique, it's and she does a fantastic job. But, there's not a lot of context provided. And I know in the film, at the very least, we know that Mr. Kringle's been doing this for quite some time, at least due to the fact, I know they mentioned at one part that about referring to whatever the current Christmas season, comparing it to 1910. So at least for probably a couple hundred years, Mr. Kringle's been doing this, and it just makes me wonder, when exactly he might have met his wife, and if if he was meeting
context?
her under, was he going to deliver gifts, in like 1700, and he saw a nice gal? I mean, he does it all in one night. In the film, he is gone at 5 p.m. on the night, and he's back by sunrise. So I mean, he's really out there going through it. I just kind of have to wonder, I presume probably she was a nice gal that was up at the North Pole and just happened to be up there, and they met each other over coffee one day. But it's a little, they don't really explore too much. So hopefully Mr. Claus was not, into any illicit activities in 1750. I'm just, he probably wouldn't do that. He's a real nice guy, but it's a little, it's never explored at all. So I don't know. It's just, they never mention anything about it, but she's a lovely woman and she does a lovely job.
Well, Florian, what do you think? Do you think Santa picked up a slave in the 1700s to be his wife? Did the elves build her as the ultimate wife breeding machine?
Well, I think most likely he must have remarried at some point, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Is Miss Claus supposed to be immortal like him?
I would imagine that she's also magical like Santa, because the Santa in this movie, he has super strength. He gets shot while he's delivering presents, and his bullet wound heals up the next day. So we're dealing with some super fairy tale level magical creatures here. I would imagine he wouldn't marry a mortal woman. Otherwise, Santa's going to be going through these women, every 50 years or so?
Well, we know that the canonical Miss Santa is 170 years, and he's almost 2,000 years. So
Santa's a pedophile.
Clearly. But yeah,
she's only 170. You sick fuck.
It's robbing the cradle. But now you mention, I guess she's taken a bullet too. So I guess she must be immortal in some way. Hard to tell, but I guess maybe he gives the immortality. Maybe he used all of his Santa powers to find the perfect soulmate for him. And I guess it does work out. They're a pretty good couple after all. Who knows?
Mrs. Claus was the original android robot waifu. He was sitting around one day and the elves are with him. He's like, oh, guys, I just kind of need a nice gal around. And they're there's a montage of, he's like, well, it's not a fetish, but the melanin is a beautiful thing, and the elves are like, oh ho ho, here we go, we're gonna make you a waifu, bro. Da, 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 da. And it's probably, I don't know, that could have happened. I'm not too sure. Like I said, the context isn't really there. They do a good job with establishing probably as much context as needed, for the setting of the film. But there are a few things there that you just don't really know. You kind of fill in the gaps a little bit.
Well, I think we should address the Mel Gibson of it all, because believe it or not, there are some people out there who think Mel Gibson should not still get gigs. He should not have a career anymore. And I'm wondering how you guys feel about that. All I know about Mel Gibson is that he went on like a drunken cell phone rant about how he hates Jews or something. Is that right?
Did you listen to that?
No, I have not listened to it. I try my best to not judge people by their worst moments, because otherwise none of you would be my friend.
Whoa! Hey, that shit is so out there. The actual recording, I guess a lot of people forgot this, and they got a really small brain, and they don't understand like anything about this situation. But essentially, Mel Gibson allegedly had this rant where he called his girlfriend, and it was crazy. He's such a cunt in that call, and he calls her like all of the names, and he says so much bad shit. But more importantly, like a year before that, he allegedly like beat her up really bad, and she lost some teeth and stuff, and she forgave him, and they went back together. And then he pulls this. He rants at her for like 25 uninterrupted minutes, and she hangs up multiple times. He calls her again. It's crazy. It's really wild. And what's even crazier is that people say he's a racist. Are you serious? That's what you get. He said the N-word in that rant, and that's the headline, is that he's racist. He's allegedly a abusive husband, wife beater, and you get from it that he's racist. I mean, the racism should surely be on a much smaller level than the wife beating. What do you think?
I've heard rumors that there's a certain girl out there who is streaming with the former wife beater. So, I mean, if she can forgive one, I don't know why the rest of us can't.
Yeah, it's just bizarre that people didn't give a shit about that at all, but they care about the one time he said the N-word in that rant.
Well, I mean, that is pretty strong, but anyways.
Yeah, the N-word is so bad that Twitch just banned it from its chat yesterday after they banned the word virgin and simp, and then afterwards they banned the N-word. So clearly they have their priorities straight.
Yeah, I guess he could say all the terrible stuff about that woman as long as he doesn't say the N-word, right? I guess.
Well, here's what I think, I wasn't there. I wasn't on the scene when Mel Gibson may or may not have knocked a woman around. So it's difficult for me to really know. But in any case, what I can say is that in this film, he's a lean, mean fighting machine, even though he's the fat man. I mean, there's a scene where he's in his in like the reindeer barn, and he's like going in on this punching bag, and he's just knocking the holly jolly jingles right out of those bells. He's really laying down some concrete hits, and and based on his his combat experience, which is sort of, it's not a deep part of the film, but but it is made known. I mean, I guess if anybody came across him sideways with some, they needed some coal in their stocking, so to speak. He's definitely about to load up the coal chute, aka the right hand bicep, and deliver he's about to turn that coal into diamonds, which means he's about to punch a woman in the face. And so, anyways, basically what I'm saying is that I could see that he could be capable of that. So, but in any case, but with him being, does that give as far as him in the film here? I was thinking when I saw some of the reviews, because I actually did not even look up the synopsis or anything of the film. I went in totally blind, but I did happen to just make sure I had the right movie. I did see some of the reviews, and it was kind of like a mid score. And I thought to myself, well, a movie critic is probably, I feel like they're going to hold a little bit of bias against the movie, maybe on that regard. But
just for casting Mel Gibson in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I did feel going into it, but I will say, you know, I did enjoy the movie, but I mean, was it exactly the most like? It was kind of. It did what it did. It went the way that it did. It wasn't the richest, you know, type of. You know, it wasn't. And it had its captivating moments. I think for me personally, it was more in like the second half of the film more strongly. But I could see maybe why it could have lost a few points on the rating scale without any bias involved.
Yeah, have you guys watched the Red Letter Media series Best of the Worst?
No, not lately.
So that's a show where they just watch, you know, shitty B movies, and the plot of this film really felt like it would be in a shitty B movie because it's like an assassin going head to head with Santa Claus. That's just like a classic shitty cheap 80s movie. But this movie was very well produced and it looked like a real movie. It just had the plot of a shitty B movie, and I could see why half of the critics would be turned away from something that is, you know, maybe it's more of an entertaining piece than real make you think kind of movie, and I don't think we should, you know, be too upset at it for that, right?
Right, I do agree.
Well, I think this movie is just great in almost every level. I mean, I don't think I have a single complaint. I think it does everything it sets out to do. Everyone says like, oh, it's so edgy, but I think it's actually quite sincere, and the Santa himself is really good. I really like feel the hope of and the Christmas spirit when I watched this movie, and I don't know how anyone could have a complaint. Yeah, it's probably true that the critics are rating it poorly because of Mel Gibson, but what can you do? I guess.
If they wanted to make this edgy, they could have gone way further. There's three main characters. We have a little 10-year-old boy named Billy who hires a hitman played by Walton Goggins to kill Santa, played by Mel Gibson, because Billy was disappointed that he got coal in his stocking for Christmas, so he wants Santa dead. But there's a scene early on where the kid Billy, he gets second place in his school science fair, and he's so pissed at the girl who got first place that he hires Walton Goggins to kidnap her. And if the movie wanted to be the, you know, R-rated, edgy, balls to the wall movie, I thought that the girl was going to literally be killed on screen to show how evil this kid was. But no, it's just like they scare her. They don't even torture her, and they send her home. So yeah, this movie could have been much worse in terms of unnecessarily edgy.
Well, let me say one thing real quick. Listen, as someone with family members who work for the Postal Service, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that a young girl should have been murdered on screen or whatever. I mean, that's obviously that probably would have been in bad taste. But I mean, at the same time, this dude was out here. There's just a guy. There's like a scene where he's like, he pulls up behind this guy who's delivering packages and like la-di-da. Like, there's no inclination that this man, but he is like straight up out of nowhere, just like pulls out and just like opens fire on this like random, like nice, jolly post office guy. I'm like, listen, I have multiple family members who deliver, and that
hit too close to home.
Yeah, that was like, I could just see,
oh no,
you know, so that was a little bit, you know, so maybe if you have, you know, I guess I won't give any trigger warnings out here because I wouldn't want to deprive anybody of a film based on, you know, any kind of preconceptions. But anyways, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, all I'm trying to say is, in terms of edginess, you might think that the Mel Gibson Santa Claus movie would be too edgy, but this movie doesn't have the balls to murder a child, and even fucking Breaking Bad kills a bunch of kids. So this Mel Gibson movie, officially less edgy than Breaking Bad. Don't feel afraid to show it to your family unless they work for the Postal Service.
Well, I've never been a fan of edginess just for edginess sake, so I guess
Why are you friends with me?
Hey, I always thought that your edginess usually had some point to it. Okay?
No, there's no sincerity. There's no satire.
Shit.
Everything I have ever said, I sincerely meant, and I'm a hate monger. I hate all those people.
Wow. We know it, huh?
You caught me. Merry Christmas.
You're worse than Mel Gibson. Oh, God.
Oh, God. I wish I was worse than Mel Gibson. That would be great.
Yeah, man, that guy is so out there, man. He's still his career never stopped, even when he did all the terrible shit. I guess it helps that people only focused on the wrong stuff there, and not the actual pretty pretty evident abuse that was going on. But yeah,
that's enough of shitting all over Mel Gibson. Okay, we believe in second chances in this American society, folks. So
I don't
Florian,
disagree. Okay,
Florian, what are some aspects of the movie you want to talk about?
Well, I guess.
Did you like the military subplot? Because we have Santa Claus, he gets paid by the U.S. government to deliver all the gifts, but since Santa is becoming disillusioned with the children of the world, and they seem to be committing more and more mean and bad and painful acts to other people, and Santa's like, well, shit, I'm not giving out gifts to all these bad kids. I thought me existing, and we live in a world where everybody knows and accepts that Santa Claus is real, and yet these kids are still being fucking shitheads and throwing rocks off of freeways and shit. So the U.S. government is now giving Santa less money since he's not giving gifts to the bad kids, and he has no choice but to sign a contract with the U.S. military for his elves in the workshop to produce control panels for fighter pilots. Did you guys enjoy that subplot, or was it just meandering?
I mean, I think it was definitely interesting. I like the fact that Santa Claus has very real problems, and I think you might have actually missed this, but supposedly this movie plays in America. Apparently, I guess North Peak is apparently
it's in Alaska.
Yeah. So they made Santa Claus an American, and now he's got American problems where the government doesn't pay him enough, and then he has to work for the military. What a great piece of political satire, eh? I guess personally I didn't like the military subplot that much. I mean, I like that he was in money trouble, but then the way the military was introduced, I guess when they actually showed up, they weren't as cool as I thought they were gonna be, because they're just like incompetent and stuff, and they're fumbling it a bit, and they're not even good at fighting. So I guess
the entire U.S. military gets slain by Walton Goggins with a pistol.
He's too powerful. Well, he did have a rifle at least.
Yeah. What do you think, Aggie? If you were the Fatman, would you have allowed the military to take over your workshop?
Well, I do agree with Florian that I think that it was, the whole context and pretext, everything surrounding it is, it does kind of hit close to home, in our current political environment. In
600 big ones, baby. Sense. You excited to get your $600 stimulus check?
Yeah, and I haven't even had to do any military service or contribute to society in any meaningful way in my entire life. So some people are upset about only 600, and I'm like, well, listen, you know what? I've never done anything for this country, and in fact, probably more often than not, I have been a detractive president in the country. So if they're gonna give me some money, you know what? They probably would rather do me like Mr. Miller. That's actually Jonathan Miller, I think, is the actual character's name, the assassin's name. They want to do me like Mr. Miller did the postman. That's how the government probably wants to do me. So if they're going to give me $600, I say thank you very much. But in any case, looking at it, this being this podcast that we're on with high level film critique.
That's right.
I'm going to give a little critique, though. At the same time, I do feel like, in a way, it was sort of like a means to an end, like the military basically, they came in, they did their little talk. There was the point where, towards the climax where the assassin is following Santa Claus. And, as he's leaving the post office, and when he goes to the post office, the guy's like, oh, this guy was in here looking for it. And he's like, and then Santa Claus is like, oh, he looks a military guy with a stick up, then, that was him. Yeah. So like, there's some things like that where it does, the context is there, whatever. But I mean, when he goes in, none of these military people ended up, basically, as we mentioned, the main thing that they give to the story is, like the financial aspect. But then, in the climax of the film, they just all get murdered. So like, basically their use in the movie is, oh my goodness, they're all getting murdered right now. So like they're taking bullets for the elves pretty much. No elves got murdered as far as I know. There was that elf that like jumped at that one part where he's like shooting at the elf and the elf jumped. I guess he survived. I didn't see anything that indicated that elf died. So it was basically, they were like cannon fodder and human meat shields for the elves. And like, so that Santa could wake up after he had just laid some serious candy cane, if you dig what I'm saying. He was knocking down some old Kringle cheeks, basically, after getting shot at. So that was pretty gangster. I'm not gonna lie. More credit to him, more power to him. But yeah, that all of a sudden his alarm's going off.
The only
and
other
then he goes and does his thing.
The only other real function of the military people being in the movie is to give us a few scenes of, I guess, attempted fish out of water humor, where the military personnel don't understand the culture of the elves, and they don't seem to understand that these are magical creatures who can get by on 2 hours of sleep and only eat candy and sweets. So they have a few scenes where I guess it's supposed to be a little funny thing where the general interacts with an elf and he's like, well, shouldn't you be eating protein instead of carbs? But I didn't really find those scenes all that clever or funny. I think there is something there, but they just didn't think hard enough to get it to where it needed to be to make me laugh.
I really like the one where they knock over the crates and they can't get them back up, and then Santa comes along and he pulls them up and he just says, "Yeah, I do steroids." And I can feel like how that could be such a dumb joke that would fall flat, but at the moment I laughed. I thought that was funny. Okay?
Yeah, that was good, because we have to establish before the big showdown that this Santa has genuine super strength, so it's a real challenge for Walton Goggins to actually defeat him.
I mean, we see his strengths every once in a while, and he's got that bullet wound that heals pretty quickly. So
right.
We already know it, and so that joke was pretty much like a cutaway gag, essentially, because it didn't contribute much. But I still really enjoyed it, I guess. And yeah. So now, does he use steroids, or is he strong? Maybe he's just really durable, so he can take lots of steroids without any negative consequences.
I think, my personal opinion, I think he is actually just on some powerlifter stuff. I think really Fatman could really be called Bloat Man. He's a bloat maxing powerlifter. He's really, it's because he has to carry so many gifts. It makes sense. I would say that like when the Santa's strength comes into question here, I have to feel like it's not martial art combat strength, just due to the fact that he introduces a piece of firewood across the assassin's skull, and then was laying in some good serious punches, and he didn't get knocked out. I mean, we know that's established that this guy is also a martial artist, a fighter. But I mean, still at the same time, if you got a big old man like that really bringing a piece of a tree across your head, and it's not doing something severe. I mean, of course, obviously, with all due fairness to the context of the film, give it a few. I'll give it a few things that's not always going to be like 100% to reality here, but that is my personal diagnosis, is that Santa is a powerlifter. Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the other characters in the film, and I want to start off with Billy, the evil 10-year-old boy who his family's not there for him other than his dying grandmother, and she's rich, so he can steal her money to hire hitmen to carry out his will. He has a big portrait of, I think it was Napoleon, hanging up on his bedroom wall, which tells you a lot about what you need to know about him. But
is that who it is? I thought that was some kind of ancestor of his, and
was it not Napoleon? I don't know much about history. I assumed it was Napoleon. Do you guys know?
I guess I could be wrong. Yeah. No idea.
I remember the shot you're referring to, but yeah, I guess I kind of just like spaced it out as like rich guy has fancy painting, basically, and I didn't really. So that might have been something there, See, I'm out here kind of being a little critical, but there's might have been some things that are a little smart and a little above my pay grade that might have slipped by me. So I don't want to be too judgmental, too critical.
It's fine to judge this movie. It's not like this movie is fucking Citizen Kane or anything. You don't have to be too preoccupied about that. But I want to know what you guys thought of this child performance, because for any 10-year-old to play the role of the the pure evil child who is basically just an adult in a child's body. It's very hard to find a child actor who can pull that off. And for example, Artemis Fowl, it's pretty much the same exact character. You have the rich, evil little kid who gets involved with some magical elf magic, and he wants to go off and do his evil scheme. And Disney recently made an Artemis Fowl movie, and it was fucking terrible. And every actor was miscast, and the whole tone of it and everything made people sick to their stomachs. And if it would have been in theaters, it would have flopped fucking big time. So did you guys think that this kid pulled it off where Artemis Fowl might have failed?
I will let Florian go first here.
I mean, I found him, I guess, somewhat believable, but also somewhat over the top evil. I mean, I guess it's good he didn't kill that girl, so I guess he's not completely insane. But then again, I guess he does go completely insane by the end of it. So
personally, I really liked the performance, and I thought this kid did a great job. And in particular, the scene when he wakes up on Christmas morning and he opens up his present and it's full of coal. There's this great shot of him when he walks outside and he kneels down in the snow and he's screaming to the heavens, "Oh, fuck you, Santa Claus!" And I thought, man, if the kid had even a slightly higher pitched voice, this would have been annoying and terrible. But this kid fit the mold perfectly for what they were going for, and I thought it's one of the better child performances that I've seen.
I would pretty much completely agree with Mumkey here. I do. I think, thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I don't think there was a single character really that seemed like they were miscasted. I think that this young man who did this role, once again, the way that the role was, the way that it was written and the character in and of itself was, kind of a little bit like cartoonish. I think, but the fact, that he's a painter and he's, all these different things. It's just like such a young megalomaniac, a budding, and the absent father and the absent mother, even actually, and just the whole structure of it, the maids and the butlers and everything like that. But yeah, I think that he really definitely, there was no point in time in my, in the film that I felt like he was not fitting his role quite well.
There is a very funny scene towards the end, and like Eggy was saying, he has a bunch of maids and butlers that he bosses around, and one of them is Hispanic. And at one point, he's in his bedroom, and the Hispanic maid is knocking on the door, and he says, "Go away!" And then the door starts to open, and the kid yells, "What? Don't you speak English?" And I thought that was particularly funny.
Him just being like as edgy and rude as possible.
Just a super racist child who's speaking that way to his own help.
Yeah, he doesn't even know if she speaks English. Yeah, that's right.
He has no fucking clue.
Can't you see I'm trying to kill somebody right now? USA,
yeah.
USA.
And like Eggy was saying, like it'll cut back to him doing these little hobbies, and he's painting pictures of himself decapitating Santa Claus and shit.
But that's the thing is, like, he's really committed to it. You don't ever question that this child is definitely cashing checks to, like, assassins on the regular. He's just like, this is just every day for him. He wakes up and like, I'm like 10 years old, but I'm about to kill the, let me call up my personal assassin. Like, was that, I can't remember like that, like how the connection was formed here with this. I don't know if that was ever really.
He already knew him.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what we know. I guess so. Essentially, he tells his driver that he has more jobs for his mutual friend, which is this assassin. So he's definitely used him before. But I guess by the fact that his first job in this movie that he gives it is kidnapping that little girl and then returning her safely. I guess we know that the previous jobs were probably nowhere near as severe as this one. So now he's really stepping it up with this Santa assassination.
Well, let's talk about the assassin himself then, Walton Goggins, who I think is probably the most three-dimensional character in the movie. We actually get a tragic backstory to him, and he has a real motivation for why he has it out for Santa Claus. And he also has my absolute favorite line in the movie. It actually sent my sides into orbit. Would either of you care to guess which of the assassin's lines fucking killed me?
I think it was the one about his mother.
Yes! Yes!
Yeah, baby.
There's a scene where he's like at Petco, and the woman helping him, it just keeps trying to take him over to the lizards when he wants to get stuff for his hamster. So he says to the woman, you remind me a lot of my mother. She also had a big mouth and didn't know when to shut the fuck up. Or something like that.
She was a bad listener, he says.
Yeah, she was a bad listener, didn't know when to shut the fuck up. That destroyed me. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, it really hits home because mothers, they never listen, do they? But you'd never be so unhinged as to say anything like that, would you? But
then we find out in his tragic backstory that his parents abused him and they would burn him with like cigars and cigarettes and shit. So that's why he has it out for Santa, that Santa, never came to help him and instead just gave him like shitty presents and stuff. And he has this fascination with buying people. He has like a black market of Santa toys that people received from Santa when they were kids, and he'll pay top dollar because he has a collection of all the Santa toys that he himself did not receive as a child.
Yeah, I didn't quite like when that was first going on, like that first scene of like the guy selling him the baseball bat. I was thinking like they both looked like sketchy character. I thought maybe like this guy was like he was having the baseball bat for like he was like going to beat somebody up with it or something like that. But no, it was just like I was totally wrong. It was just some nice innocent guy that just needed some money for his daughter to go to space camp.
Yeah.
And but I do got to say that the assassin to me, I mean, I think that he definitely, once again, very well cast. I mean, like this guy, his performance is extremely good to me. Like he definitely, there's no point in time where you look at the way that his sort of like empty, sort of calculating way that he carries himself, but also aggressive at the same time. Like there's no point where you would doubt that this guy is definitely a professional killer. Like it really is. He really carries that energy very accurately.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the actor, but Walton Goggins was on the show Vice Principals. He was in The Hateful Eight, directed by Tarantino. And now he's on some fucking CBS sitcom called The Unicorn that I have not watched. But Walton Goggins consistently elevates any material he's given, and I always enjoy seeing him on screen.
Hell yeah, man. I love this guy. He was in one of my favorite series called The Shield, and then he was a cop in another show that I forget, and then he was in the Tomb Raider movie. Amazing. But yeah, he always is a good presence.
Oh, the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider movie? Yeah, he was the bad guy in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that was pretty good, too. The movie wasn't great, but he was good.
I think he plays a pretty similar character. Isn't he like some kind of mercenary, but he's not with like the main bad guy corporation? I might be wrong.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but he's good at that character, pretty good. Before he was good at being a cop, I guess. And I still have to see Vice Principals. That must be interesting.
Oh, that show is so funny.
Cool.
I will say one thing, too, about this guy is that I do believe, in my personal opinion, he had the most kino piece in this movie. To me, just traditional sense of my kino senses, that montage as he's driving to the North Pole, where it's like chopping up and it's got like the different songs and stuff like that. To me, that was, it was, I did enjoy the movie altogether, but, if I was going to like look at something with my personal biases is what I would like watch something and be like, ooh, it just hits the kino spot. To me, that was like the piece.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I like the song choices as well. They really tied into the theme of he's going to kill Santa. And he also brings his pet hamster with him. And I think I like the trope of the hardened assassin has a cute little pet that he's obsessed with and he takes on his missions with him. So even if it's something we've seen too many times before, I liked seeing it in this movie, too. I like that he cares about his pet enough to take it with him to go kill Santa Claus.
You never know. Is he going to kill it at the end for some stupid reason, like in the Hitman series, where he has to kill his bird because his bird is being noisy and blowing his cover? But yeah, it's a great hamster, I guess. I was here for that little hamster when he's picking it up. But yeah, it's nice that he has it.
Well, we've covered the main characters, so now do you guys want to talk about the climactic shootout at the end and whether or not we thought it was a kino action sequence?
For myself personally, yeah, I think to me, it definitely was the most engaging part of the film because, like I said, once again, I did enjoy the film, but like, yeah, as it was kind of going on, it's kind of like, okay, it's like, it's going and the pieces are being established, but really, yeah, it's like once you kind of hone in on that, the main plot point of his going to assassinate Santa and everything is it kind of like that's where it starts picking up more for me, and it kind of gets like gradually more engaging as it goes on. And then, yeah, like really, once he, basically he's up and waiting in his car, near the post office and everything, like from that point forward to me is like where I kind of really got locked in because you just don't really, that there was definitely, to me at points, there was definitely times where I was genuinely guessing. I was not able to know for sure what was going to happen next, who's going to die, what's going to happen, this or that. So I enjoyed that it wasn't something that was just, I had an idea that probably how it was going to turn out, but since I liked the suspense and in the action, it was good to me. I like that. Yeah.
My only complaint would be there was not enough between the assassin and Santa himself. They're really building up this confrontation the whole movie, and the movie's an hour 40 minutes, and they don't even come face to face until the final 15 minutes, and then their fight it probably clocks in at 2 or 3 minutes at most. I really wanted to see some. To compare it to something not as good, the Family Guy chicken fights when Peter and the chicken will go in just in a huge fucking brawl. It'll go on for like 5 or 6 minutes and they'll get really creative with the different ways that they're beating the shit out of each other. I wanted to see that with Mel Gibson as Santa Claus. Their confrontation really does not go on for that long. I think in terms of blows, Santa might punch him once and then they both shoot each other a couple times. But I wanted to see going through Santa's workshop, all the toy making machines and stuff. I wanted them to go all over the landscape with this fight, and it seemed to end as quickly as it began.
I'm pretty sure it goes on for like probably 8 minutes. For sure.
Not between Walton Goggins and Santa.
Well, that alone must be 5 minutes, surely.
I don't think so. It was pretty quick.
They shoot, and then there's this suspenseful part where they're cowering behind the wood, and then they box for like a minute, and then he has a knife on his on his knee. Who has a knife on their knee? Yeah. And I guess he goes and fights with Miss Santa. So I don't know. I guess you don't count that one.
Well, I just feel like they could have been more creative with the fight. If you're going to do a campy murder Santa movie, you should have more than just they fight outside in the snow and they shoot at each other a little bit and then it just ends. I want to see I want to see their full creative capacities for this fight, and I feel like I was for all the build up and as good as the movie was, I feel like the climax, my eyes did not roll to the back of my head. Let's just say.
Whoa, well, I gotta disagree on that one. I think the movie had really good pacing all throughout. I really like the world building they did, and I think the fight scene it was as good as it's gonna be. I don't think it would have been improved by making it like more elaborate or more long. It's pretty clear that both of the characters are very professional and very straight to the point. So I don't know. It would be pretty weird if you would do a thing that's compared to the Family Guy chicken fight in anything. I think I'm pretty happy with it, and with the resolution and the eye patch. It's all really good in my opinion.
There's one thing that I do want to say that I want to give them credit for is that when Santa comes and he is, he's going to engage the fight, how they pull out the firearms from beneath their bed, and they're like some like 1800s type pistols. So they're probably they probably bought those. I mean, also one thing, they have to have some kind of magical gun oil or something to like have these firearms in like an instantaneous working order from like 200 years ago. Anyway, but it was funny though. Yeah, I liked how, because not a spoiler alert, but basically, Mrs. Claus gets involved, and she looks like she has some kind of pistol that basically probably George Washington had one of these. You know what I mean? So they probably got this on their wedding night, 300 years ago or something. But that attention to detail, and even when they're the box of the ammunition, it looks like something out of 1900s, like the styling of the text and things on the ammunition that they're loading into the pistols for is going into the fight. It's got looks like Dr. some other snake oil like type branding and logo from like an older time period. So that was pretty cool. And but yeah, I do agree with Mumkey though too that it was sort of like yelling at each other across the snow and then basically just opening fire. Although once again with like there was definitely a good amount of tension in the fight, though. To me, it wasn't like totally anticlimactic. There was definitely some good tension and some good suspense there. But yeah, it was linear. It was linear.
If they would have brought in the fight choreographer from John Wick for even one day, I think they could have had something really special here.
Oh, come on, man. Putting some goofy, fancy violence from that kind of stuff in.
This is a Santa Claus movie. What do you mean goofy violence? That's what I wanted. It's a campy B movie that they made with a nice camera.
But there was nothing goofy about this movie. Everything was.
Are you kidding me? It's a movie about assassinating Santa Claus, played by Mel Gibson. It's a fucking joke of a movie to begin with.
But it was not made as a joke. It was quite serious characters, and
I think the movie can be a joke and take itself seriously. I mean, I don't think you come up with this movie idea thinking it's going to win the Oscar for most dramatic film. They know it's a joke.
Well, I don't think there was any instance of slapstick, and I don't think there should have been. Okay,
I think it is a good comedy premise to take something silly and then treat it completely seriously, which is what they did. But the violence didn't need to be a cartoon, like literally animated Family Guy fight. I just think the fight could have been extended and more stylized and more exciting.
When you talk about John Wick, that's the most cartoony real life violence. You think
John Wick violence is a cartoon?
Yeah, man, that stuff is so silly. I mean, I don't care if it's practical effects. It's over the top silly. Every knife he throws perfectly.
I disagree completely. Face. I think the fact that they're filming it without CGI and you have the actors actually going through with all the gun fu, is that what they call it? And it's like kung fu with guns and shit. I think the John Wick action is, I mean, probably not how people fight in real life, but I'd say it's far more realistic than cartoony.
How is it realistic if it's not how people fight? It's not even close to how people fight.
Have you ever watched two expert fighters try to murder each other with guns?
Well, and they like reload a clip by throwing it in the air and then catching it with the gun and stuff like that. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Hey, it's completely possible if you're a highly skilled assassin like John Wick.
It's slapstick. That's what it is.
I don't care. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what that word means.
It's possible to slip on a banana and fall on your back. It's still slapstick, though.
That doesn't happen in either movie.
I'm pretty sure it happens in John Wick.
He slips on a banana peel?
You don't remember when he was running away from the bad guys and he was laying out banana peel traps?
Yeah, yeah, when John Wick and Mario Kart made a mix-up movie. He's throwing green shells at people and shit.
Yeah, he had the kid from Home Alone, and he made all kinds of Rube Goldberg traps. It was great.
Okay.
When John Wick walked out with the fake mustache, and where did he go, George? Which way did he go?
Yeah, you're right. I forgot all those slapstick scenes from John Wick. My bad.
They're gonna have Mel Gibson come out with like I don't know, just like a Groucho Marx, like fake
Big glasses and nose and
Where's
mustache.
Santa Claus at? I'm here to kill Kris Kringle. Well, I think I heard that he was just down the road right there.
He went that way. Go get him. Yeah, I know. Florian, you're right. Once again, everything you said is correct, and I stand corrected. I look like a fool with my pants on the ground.
Yeah, you wanted all this crazy stuff to happen? No way, dude.
Yeah. Heaven forbid my Santa Claus movie have some magical realism in it.
But this opens them up to the sequel, Obese Man, or perhaps Overweight Man, or Fatter Man, however you want to say it. But maybe he's been training extra hard.
Fatman 2, even fatter.
He's recovering. He was really just about to be out for the count. And now he's so extra training. He's having his magical power. It's like Dragon Ball, originally, Goku is like whatever, and then he goes into the time pod and he trains like 1,000,000 years in a day. They could do that. They could have they could play into it. This could be like the basal level of cartoonishness at this one, and they could go then and then play into like an even more cartoonish sequel, especially now that they have that premise, and I'm not even somebody who likes to argue in favor of sequels. Really, I hate them, but I'm just saying that they really could, flesh this out even more now. And if I saw Fatman 2, where Santa had 8 energy blasts and stuff that he could do, I'm definitely gonna watch that now after I watch this film. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would also be completely down for as many sequels as they want, because I did really enjoy this interpretation of the Santa Claus character with Mel Gibson. I thought they accomplished what they were going for, and the character was a lot of fun. And even he has the magical power where if he looks at somebody, he's Santa, so he knows exactly who they are and their complete life history. And we have scenes of Santa going to the bar, and he sees a guy who's trying to cheat on his wife with the bartender. And Santa, he's such a wholesome man. He says, "Hey, how about this? I'll pay for your tab. You drive home and go be with your family on Christmas." That's the Mel Gibson Santa that needs 10 more sequels in my mind.
Hell yeah, I want nothing more than more sequels to this Fatman Santa. I don't know if it's gonna be happening, because I think it made quite a loss at the I guess internet box office or whatever we got, but can we blame that on Corona or did it flop? Who knows?
To be fair, all three of us did watch the movie for free, so yeah, they're probably not making too much off of it.
Uh-oh.
Hey, listen, how do you know? You weren't here with me watching the movie. You don't
spent
know
$6 to watch this shit?
I paid for everything, okay? Damn.
Okay. Yeah, just like how I'm going to pay for Binding of Isaac.
Whoa. You better. I'm pretty sure I gave you a key at some point.
You did,
Jeez.
like 4 years ago.
Yeah, play that game. Jeez.
No. Make a better game.
Yeah, one day. Anyways, so when I saw this movie, I decided that this is so good. I need more of this, okay? And what I did is I watched 5 more Mel Gibson movies, and they were mostly good. There was one where he was a really edgy ex-cop who gets in crazy firefights and becomes crooked, and he gets suspended for being racist. And it's really interesting, even though that movie makes some crazy political statements, but I love Mel Gibson movies, and the fact that this movie is Mel Gibson, but it's some cool fantasy where he's like some kind of superhero is so cool, and I wish there was more of it. It's such a shame that there isn't more where Mel Gibson is playing fantasy characters, and I guess it's too bad. He's pretty old now, and we're probably not going to see much of it, but I gotta say, old Mel Gibson is definitely my favorite. I didn't like him that much back then, even though he still was in some really cool shit. But
I liked him in Lethal Weapon. I thought he was pretty funny in that.
Yeah, sure. I just love the way he looks with a beard, okay? He's so good with the beard, and as a grizzled old man, it's the best. And I guess I don't even care that he's terrible to his ex-girlfriend or whatever. What a shame.
Finally, somebody can separate the art from the artist. I'm so proud of you. Next, you're going to tell me Hitler's paintings were beautiful.
Well, I guess they look fine. Yeah.
Well, Eggy, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that my final thoughts on the film, it's definitely a different kind of Christmas movie experience, and I would recommend it for people who, if of course I would say listen to the Is It Kino podcast, but maybe you shouldn't listen to that first, I guess, because maybe
Too late now.
You should. But, we might have given a couple spoilers out, I guess. But in any case, if somehow you only catch this piece of the podcast, that, as I'm mentioning this right now, I would give it a recommendation. Yeah, I think that for its simplicity in some aspects, I think what it does, as we mentioned, at the beginning or roughly at the beginning, what it does well. And with that being said, I definitely give it its credit.
I would agree on the recommendation. I also think that it's pure entertainment kino. And let's just say there are different types of good entertainment. And the example I like to give is, you know how in elementary school there would be that day where they would wheel in the TV and you'd get to watch like a video that day. And the video, you would be so excited because you don't have to sit in class and you get to watch a video. So naturally, whatever the video is, you're probably going to be mildly entertained by it just because you're in the context of the classroom. But these videos probably wouldn't be the things you would watch for fun outside of school. Like you wouldn't choose to watch this. And recently I had to, for another podcast I was on, I had to watch the anime Interspecies Reviewers. And my review of that was, as homework, it's doable, but I would not want to watch this just for fun. This movie, I feel the exact opposite. This is something that engaged me, and I was genuinely excited to continue watching it while it was there. It is something that I would watch again for fun, not just to review it for a show. And that's a sure sign of something being kino in my book.
Hell yeah, I watched it twice, so you probably don't even have to worry about being spoiled by us now, so you should definitely go watch it.
Well, shit, boys. We did it. We did another kino, a Christmas kino. Do you guys have any plugs you want to give and any final Christmas thoughts?
Well, I guess I'll start, and I'll... I guess I'm sorry to bring this on Mel Gibson again, but I'm pretty sure he's terrible. I just gotta say, because I listened to his whole rant, and he didn't know he was being recorded, and he yells at his wife, at his girlfriend, and he said, and she says, "You beat me up while I was holding your kid. You knocked my teeth loose." And what he says is, "You made me this way. I'm this monster because of you." Sounds pretty guilty to me.
Yeah, it sounds like the woman was the problem. He just said so.
Oh, yeah, you shouldn't say so.
He said it was her fault. I mean, you're not going to believe him? # believe all Mels.
I mean, I believe he thought so. I believe he probably did it too, allegedly.
Yeah.
So there you go. You enjoy Mel Gibson movies with a grain of salt, even though they're good. And I really like the gritty atmosphere they have. And this movie apparently had like 20 million budget, and I think it looks great for that. I think
definitely.
It was shot really professionally. Like his latest movies have this special style, even though he wasn't the director of this. But it's so beautiful and definitely worth a watch.
So that's your plug.
Oh, yeah.
You want to plug?
You can find me on GameSquid on YouTube. Definitely check me out there.
Hey,
well, what I will say, just since Mr. Florian now mentions a little bit of this in his closing statement, I totally get where he is coming from. Absolutely, but here's what I think. I think once again, because Mel was recorded without his knowledge, I think right now we have people that are in Hollywood that we might have a positive opinion of otherwise, who may be doing some of these things that haven't been brought to light yet. So I like to, I don't like to hold any entertainer in too high of a regard, because it seems like there is a pattern over the years where they all kind of seem to be a little bit crazy. So with that being said, of course, not to excuse anything bad, as everybody knows, I love all good and I dislike all bad. But yes, as far as my plugs, you can find me on twitter.com @OneEggWhite. and really everything else that I do I usually will talk about it on there. But if you don't use Twitter, I am on YouTube at Egg White with roughly 9,000 subscribers. So if you type in Egg White in your YouTube search bar and see that, that's me. I do live streams, I do music, and I have fun.
Now, how often do you get extremely drunk on stream and go on a Mel Gibson-esque rant?
You know what? Not the majority of the time. It's probably not the majority of the time.
But it still happens a lot.
When you say Mel Gibson-esque, I don't know. I mean, like, that's kind of a high bar. That's kind of like, I'm not on internet. I'm not on international scandals. Did I get investigated by the FBI because of my streams? Yes. Have I been in international scandals because of my streams? No. Yes, because of my music. But, that's different. That's just self-expression, and it's not targeted negatively towards anyone except maybe if you're an employee of the federal government, or there are a few. I might have a few strong but fair words for some people sometimes, but in any case, you're not entirely wrong.
Well, there you go. If you want to hear Mel Gibson light, go subscribe to Egg White on YouTube, everyone. How's that sound?
Well, he's a very accomplished actor, so if I'm light in all aspects, including the acting chops and maybe the grizzled good looks, you know what? Then so be it.
Hell yeah! Well, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you. We're putting this one up on Christmas Day, so I hope you listen to this with your family while opening presents, and go torrent this movie. I'm not going to ever recommend that anybody spend their own money.
You must pay for this movie, no. Merry Christmas, everyone. Ho, ho, ho.
See you later.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.